Have a question, you've got 2 minutes to come on up and ask away, but it has to be on something that's not on the agenda or is on the consent agenda. Okay? Richard Stowe, followed by Greg Rice.
Hi, I'm Richard Stowe. I am chair of the City Tree Board, and I want to make it explicitly clear I am speaking today as a member of the public, not on behalf of the board. I wanted to let the commission know that the tree board unanimously changed its recommendation for the tree replacement at the Cultural Plaza from a green buttonwood to gumbo limbo at our last meeting. I had been in touch with Lourdes Ferris, the executive director of Keep Palm Beach County Beautiful, during our discussions about tree replacement and their $1,000 contribution toward that. And asked David Negru and I asked the board to recommend an alternative. And Lourdes wrote back on January 19th, the gumbo limbo would be a good alternative, especially if you find a unique looking one with character. Since the board made that recommendation at our February meeting, I've spoken with Marta Edwards, owner of Amanda Escapes, and she had helped David Negru locate a couple of gumbo limbos. And our conversation just basically went like this, that the ones that she had found were straight trunked. Those would be similar, akin to some of the gumbo limbos on Federal Highway in Hypaluzzo. The ones that I think our city manager would really like, kind of funky, cool trunks, are at the northeast corner of Flagler and Okeechobee.
Give me just a second to finish that topic, if you would.
Thank you. And the price difference between the two, brought not exact dollars, but let's say 1,000 versus 5,000. So I just wanted to bring that to attention of the commission, because I know you're not meeting on March 3rd, and we're trying to get a tree replacement as Commissioner Amoroso suggested at our January meeting in as expeditious a manner as possible. And I didn't know how to reach all of you at once.
Thank you, Mr. Stowe. Appreciate it.
And I am favorable toward the funky cool side. Having a really a gumbo limbo with character. I think we want to have a world-class city. Let's have a world-class street at the Cultural Plaza.
Thank you. Greg Rice, followed by Peter Tim.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners. Welcome everyone. I went here last week for the presentation. I thought, oh look, we're going to set up a yard chess game here. That's the king, by the way, for those of you that aren't chess players. So I thought I might volunteer my services to be a bishop. Make one of those bishop hats. I'd probably look a little taller. Anyhow, as the Vice Mayor mentioned, Street Vending Festival this weekend, I got a phone call today from Nadine Burns informing me that we have added another shuttle trolley to the event this year. And so I have my list here. Some of you are on my list, some of you are not. I still need help. And I also want to let people know, if you have friends coming in from out of town, they'll alleviate the parking pressure. You know the Tri-Rail is there, and they're going to be running people back and forth on the Tri-Rail. For those people that can take the Tri-Rail, great opportunity. I rode the course yesterday. It's about a 15-minute ride from City Hall out to the State College and back, not counting times to stop, let people on or let people off. So it's going to be about a 20-25-minute round trip ride in that loop that you will be hosting if you're so willing to do so. It's a great opportunity. Riding down Lake Worth Road yesterday and looking over there at the villages of Lake Worth. What a nice looking I mean, from the road going down there, it's great. But if the parking lot for the not the junior college, the state college, used to be a junior college, it's grown up. The parking lot is going to be the one closest to Kinders Avenue, the north parking lot. There'll be signs, I'm hoping, that will let people know where the shuttle will pick them up and drop them off and all. But it will be a continuous loop, 10 o'clock to 6 o'clock, Saturday and Sunday. It's a great way to come to the event, avoid some of the traffic, certainly avoid some of the parking pressures that we sometimes have, and we certainly should have in this event, especially if the weather holds out for us, which I'm going to put a call into Steve Weagle tomorrow to make sure that happens. And I, getting to the gumbo limbo, I like the red gumbo limbo trees instead of the green. That's just it. Thank you.
Thank you. Peter Tim, followed by Dustin Zacks.
Peter Tim, still living on North O Street, and at the last commission meeting, a commissioner took another commission to task and said, "Did you hear what they said at the campus meeting? Did you hear? Did you hear?" So it's my turn. I want to know, did you hear? Did you hear when the question from the audience came up of what happens when the general obligation bond, if we go broke, if we go into bankruptcy or something like that? The answer was, no, they get paid. We'll just raise the amount of money from the people who are paying the taxes out to cover that. That's the reason the interest rate is low. So we're going to have a floating bond issue, whatever it is. So the people who pay nothing will still pay nothing. The people who pay $30, they pay $40. People who pay $300, they pay $400. People who pay $3,000, probably pay $4,000. Or whatever it takes to pay off this bond. I think you want to be very careful about how much money you borrow and what kind of debt you are putting us into. Please be more careful. I also wish to address that question that was mentioned at the last commission meeting about the non-ad valorem tax roll would not work. Didn't you hear him say that it is difficult to impossible? Oh, I'm sorry. That is the most generic answer I have ever heard to a question, and I certainly hope you didn't pay any more attention to that than I did. Why is it difficult? Why is it impossible? Don't just blurt out something and say, that's it, okay, now you all know. So please, let's be very careful about how we handle our money and what we do with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tim. Dustin Zacks left me something to read. Oh no. Cats. Dear Honorable Mayor and City Commissioners and Mr. Tim. I'm sorry I could not attend what I'm sure will be a riveting meeting, but our hockey team has the early game tonight. As you may know, according to HolidayInsights.com, February is National Canned Food Month. This suggests to me that my Lincoln must be shaped like a giant can of Meow Mix, because cats love to sleep on the roof of my car. Really, if they made a movie about my life in Lake Worth, it would be called 50 Shades of Grey Cats in the Alley Behind My House. In summation, cats are bad. Please do something about the cats. It's my job to read this. Finally, I was greatly discouraged to see video of Marshall Pass taking newspapers from City Hall. I respectfully suggest that the City Commission enact a new city holiday, Marshall Pass Newspaper Retribution Amnesty Day, in which citizens may be legally permitted to take items of their choosing from Marshall's Buick and place them in random other locations throughout the city. I trust this will discourage Mr. Pass's tomfoolery in the future. Sincerely, Dustin Zacks. Katie McGivern, followed by Dean Sherwin.
Hi, Katie McGivern, a tough act to follow. My family and I have lived within our budget, and I demand that the city does the same thing. The idea that the city spent $50,000 of our tax dollars to convince us that they're too poor to do even routine maintenance on our roads is ridiculous. Try this scenario. Tomorrow morning you go into your boss's office and tell them that you need a new roof. Tell your boss that in addition to the money that you already received, your job will now have to cover the cost of your new roof. That probably won't go over so well with anybody's boss. Well, we are the bosses of the city, we the people. So why in the world does this city think it's okay to play out this exact same scenario with us to the tune of $63 million, apparently for the second time? We here in Lake Worth don't have a lack of money problem, we have a mismanagement of our tax dollars problem. Another scenario, an alarm salesman knocks on your front door, and when you come to the door, the salesman tells you to give him $100, and then he will come into your home and give you a chance to buy his product. Siemens, to the tune of about $185,000, just told our city the same thing. We'll do this great big study for you, but it'll cost you about $185,000 if you don't buy what we're going to try to sell you. Who in the world thought that this was an acceptable way to do business? Plato stated that one of the penalties for refusing to participate in politics is that you end up being governed by your inferiors. Apparently, we have a whole lot of apathetic people in this town. Thank you.
Dean Sherwin?
Which one works? Dean Sherwin, 509 North L Street. I'm also a member of the Planning and Zoning Board, but I'm speaking as a very private individual. By the way, I was very impressed actually by Siemens' presentation last week. It's worth paying for good engineering. Having worked for so many years, 29 years with these kind of people, I was prepared to be very cynical, but I wasn't. However, tonight I just wanted to speak briefly about arts. Lake Worth prides itself on being a center for artists, prides itself on attracting artists and having an increasing arts district. So I am making a suggestion for an ordinance or change to ordinances that would permit sale for private residences of crafts and arts produced by the resident on the premises. Limited to a certain dollar amount per month, limited to produced by less than 1/4 horsepower machinery. I think that this could be done certain zoning districts, or maybe the whole city, or maybe we have an arts overlay district, but not like we had before, which was too onerous in terms of requirements. I see this as very low impact and doing something to encourage what is and legitimize what is already going on under the counter. Thank you. And if you tell me this is already permitted, that's fine. If not, regard this as a first shot across the bow. Oh.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other comment cards? Anyone that I missed?